This is just a short video to explain how I come up with the arrangement of beds on my allotment. I decided on an 8-foot long by 4-foot wide bed. It's a reasonable size. You can get quite a lot of produce in there. You can get larger pumpkins, squash, and even have potatoes, obviously smaller things, carrots, whatever, pak choy, it's quite good. But yeah, it's manageable. You can kind of mulch an area like that in a reasonable amount of time. It's not hugely long, it's not so long that you can need to keep stepping over the beds all the time. I don't want to walk on beds, these are raised beds, they're only raised up. The width of the scaffold boards are 8 inches, or well, it's about 10 inches, 225 millimeters. So it's 8 foot long, and I just made these out of reclaimed scaffold boards. So I pick up 8-foot boards and cut the boards into half to make the two ends. Keep the straps on the ends of the boards as well. They're not exactly 800 by 1200, obviously. They vary a little bit, and you've got the thickness of the board itself. But I tend to have the, if you can imagine, the long board is the length of the bed, and then the width of the bed is the shorter board, and then the two thicknesses of the long board as well. So I came up with these beds. I established a path about 2 foot wide for the larger parts, and then the narrow parts I decided on about 12 inches, 300 millimeters. Just when you just need access, but obviously you can get a wheelbarrow down these paths, so they don't need to be quite so wide, but that's what I've sort of come up with for the majority of the allotment. The main one down the centre I've gone for a metre wide, just for ease of access if you've got to transport anything through, if you're installing any kind of bits and pieces or moving cold frames and things, it makes it a little bit easier. But these beds could actually be, these parts could be narrower. So I come up with these 3 beds and you can work around them. But what I thought would be a good idea is to add these beds here to give you a big long run to make what is like in effect a capital E. So it saves on materials. You don't need these doubled up boards here. You can have separate beds. You can have separate beds. Yeah, so you've got a lot of extra woodwork here which you can kind of remove, and then it gives you a long bed. It gives you an option of having longer runs of or rows of props going into this to give you a 12-foot long by 4 foot, or an 8-foot by 4 foot, and obviously you can kind of subdivide this into smaller sections as you manage it as well. But what I thought, if you're weeding this or whatever, you can kind of weed an area that, and it's not an overbearing, onerous kind of job. It doesn't make it too lengthy to actually manage. So what I'm showing on here, this is the E-shaped bed, and obviously with these beds what you can do as well. If you flip that so that they're symmetrical, then you've got a central path, and then you can actually sort of have these paths just branching off each side. So it gives you quite a nice access around the allotment, and you can get access to both sides of these beds. You can reach over 2 feet or 600 millimeters from that path here into this bed, or a full stretch you can probably reach right across anyway. But it's quite nice. There's not a huge amount of jumping across. You can pretty much access everything you need, apart from you can get access to there, you can get access to there. But obviously if you want to kind of walk around, you can walk around here, and if you've got path here, you can get access to that much easier as well. But it's quite nice, and what I quite like as well, you've got a sort of central path which is sort of like a central avenue, make it a little bit wider, make these paths narrow as well. But because these are raised beds, if I was working on a slight slope, so the corner here was nearer to the ground level, but these were quite a lot higher, so I basically raised it up about a foot on this side. But what that did give me the option was using these are actually 600 millimeters long, 400 millimeters wide. These are like bail-arm crate size. So this is another use of these bail-arm crates to make more of these worm beds or underpath worm beds. And because this is only 600 millimeters wide, pretty much a couple of scaffold boards there, plus the thickness of the scaffold board timber gives you 2 8-foot boards will give you a nice lid on top of these worm beds. So these are bail-arm crates, sort of greengrocers crates. They're available in different sizes, different depths, and also half crates or full crates. The half crates are only 300 millimeters by 400 millimeters, so they're half the size of these, just lengthways. But the main thing that differentiates them is the depth. So they're available in, I think, about 660 millimeters, 250, probably maybe 180 or something like that. But if you can, if you've got decent depth of soil there, you can stack them one on top of each other, but I go for the shallower crates. They're just a lot easier to manage when you're going to harvesting them or maintaining them anyway. You lift the scaffold boards and then you can just lift the top one, access the bottom one. Obviously the materials will harvest at different times, because what I tend to do is when one crate's nearly empty, as it settles down, I'll take the contents from that crate and then move it. Say this one was half empty and these ones were all half empty. I'll take that one there, top up the first one with that, and then that one there I'll transfer there, so this makes it a new empty crate, so then fresh material can go into these, and then you can kind of work left to right or right to left or out if you want on these beds, and then end up with more mature material here which you can harvest and then use in the beds, and then that frees up another container which you can kind of alternate and move that one along. So you know the material in this one is the freshest, newest, kind of least composted, or least firmly composted material. Well, that's why I call these E-beds. So on the or Worm Composting UK group, if I mention the E-beds, that's just what I'm referring to. I kind of like the layout, it gives you a nice kind of area. These are 12 foot by 16 feet. And so, yeah, you could actually do one that would be more like a cross shape, so I'll just knock these ones off. Give you this kind of arrangement as well, so you can have long beds going this way, but they're just connected to these, so you still access that bit, you can access that bit, you can walk down that path, you can access the whole lot, but it just gives you another kind of chunk of bed. It's just an option as well, kind of like that shape. It came about from kind of using a sort of keyhole bed, so it would be a square bed with this path that doesn't cut right through. It just gives you that material around there, so it gives you a little bit less paths to manage and a bit more growing space. So that's all for now, just a short video just to explain how those bits are.